Hello and welcome. If this is your first time here, I'm Garth Allen, and this is Racing News Now. We're joined today by a winner of Friday's Speediatrics 150 from the Kansas Speedway. First time winner in the ARCA Menard series, Corey Heim. Corey, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So let's talk about Friday. You had one bad fast car there. Once you got to the lead, there was really no touching you. So just talk us through that entire day. Did you know early on in the day that you had a car capable of doing that?
Yeah, it's really tough with the lack of practice and everything, just to know what you got going into the race. But from our first trip at Kansas in the summertime, I knew we had obviously a car that was contending for the win throughout the race, and I really had no idea what I was doing at that point. So, to take things that I learned from that first race and kind of apply it to the second time around at Kansas, I think it was really big. I had the 100 laps of experience that I didn't have going into the first time, and realistically, we had a shot to win the first time. So, with that being said, I knew we had a good shot at getting the win, but with stock car racing, anything can really happen. So, after practice, I think we practiced within the top five, and we had really consistent speed. So kind of going into the race, taking that in consideration, I figured that we weren't going to have maybe the best short run speed, but I knew we were going to be good on the long run because the car was very sustainable and everything like that. So, and that seemed to be pretty much the story of the night, except the fact that we did have a lot of short run speed too. So, it was all put together well by Kevin Jr., my crew chief, and Venerania Motorsports gave me a great Craftsman Camry.
So it seemed like most of the night, Brett Holmes, who eventually would become the champion, was really your only competition there. He seemed to be the only one that could really keep anywhere close to you most of the night, which makes sense given he won the first Kansas race this year. How worried about him were you, especially there later in the race when it seemed like he was a little closer than he had been most of the race?
Yeah, I knew going into the race that Brett was going to be probably my biggest competition. There was a couple of names that weren't in the first race, like Ty Gibbs, Chandler Smith. Didn't race the first one, and I knew that they were going to be tough as well. But I knew Brett, since he completely dominated the first race and also had that experience as well as I did. I knew he was going to be tough for sure. But from the first 10, 15 laps, I knew that we could contend with him. I knew that we had a really good race car, so at that point, we were racing in the later afternoon, and it was falling into the nighttime. So I knew we had to just keep up with the track and, make the car at least somewhat as good as it was in the first run and just keep it that good, and we would be just fine. But for sure, the first 10 to 15 laps, he was just as good, if not better than me in the second and third segment there. But I was listening to my spotter Lloyd. He was telling me where he was running on the racetrack, and I think we played our cards right just to do everything we could to hold him off, and take away his air throughout the run, so we could eventually pull away, which our car was ultimately better on the long run. So, yeah, he was definitely clearly the closest that anyone had gotten to being as good as us throughout the race, but. I couldn't have asked for much more on our part. I mean, the car was perfect, so I can't take away anything from that.
So just tell us about that feeling of winning that first ARCA race. You've been so close so many times, both last year and this year, and to finally be able to finish that off and get that first win, what's that feeling like? What did that mean to you?
Yeah, we certainly had a lot of good runs last year. We normally ran anywhere between third to fifth. We didn't really lead a lot of laps, but some races you just find yourself in position to be pretty close, and we found ourselves in position to win a couple of those races last year. Unfortunately, I never, came through, but I knew our transition to Venerania Motorsports was going to be really good because obviously they had a very dominant 2019 season, and I felt like there was a lot of really smart people walking around in that building, just from the first race I had done with those guys. So, after New Smyrna, our first race with Venerania Motorsports, I knew that we were going to have a good shot to win in our next six starts, which we finally got it done at Kansas this past weekend. And yeah, it does feel very good. Sometimes I overthink and just say like, oh, am I ever going to get this thing done? But it all came together this past weekend, and I couldn't be any more grateful for those guys.
How much confidence does this give you now? You mentioned when we talked to you on your next favorite driver last week that you got a few super late races left this year, and I think Phoenix was the only West race you said you were doing.
Yeah.
So how much confidence does that give you going into those final few races of your season?
Yeah, it definitely gives me some confidence. Going into this weekend is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, late model race I'm going to compete in this year, other than the Snowball Derby. So, it'll give me a lot of confidence, but at the same time, it can be very humbling. So, going into Greenville Pickens, which is where I'm racing this weekend, it's a $30,000 to win race, huge race. A lot of cars are going to be there. Definitely could not have had any better timing for my confidence sake. Going into that race, I need all I can get just to go out there and obviously win the race, but. At the same time, I just gotta, stay contained and just kind of focus on what I need to do. Just starting on Monday morning, I was right back at the gym trying to prepare for this weekend, and just, I've never seen the place before. And I do get plenty of practice, so it's not going to be a huge deal, but never seen the place before. So I just got to do everything I can to, keep it rolling and just not, go into the next race and, have a lackluster performance because I, got too confident or something like that. So, but, full circle, it does give me a lot of confidence going into Greenville.
Definitely. Well, all right. Well, Corey, good luck with that this weekend. Hopefully you'll be able to continue that win streak, and congratulations on finally checking that box and getting that first ARCA win.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.